Hey everybody, it's Party Elite. Welcome back to our Planet Zoo franchise mode Let's Play. We're going to dive right back into Elite Zoo South. There is a lot to get done today, and we have a bit of an interesting session ahead of us as far as, I don't know how to put it, like structure is concerned, or I guess content is concerned. I'm at a bit of an interesting sort of a crossroads? No, not crossroads, that's not the right word. Intersection? We're at an interesting moment as far as Elite Zoo South is concerned with regards to how we move forward with the next big implementation, the next big space, I suppose, is one way to put it. And what I'm talking about, folks, is the little insect house, or however we want to term it, the creepy crawly house, the exhibit animal zone. I'm sure there's a very nice and coherent way of expressing myself, but it's just not coming to mind right now. But my point is, I'm really curious to see and excited to see, and I'm really uncertain about how this space is actually going to build out and play out. I hinted at it, if not straight up just made it very clear what the plan was for today's session. But today we're going to be building the little, again, insect house, or whatever we want to call it, right next to our Nyati Plains, right? We have that huge kind of expanse that's to the right of it, if we're looking, you know, north-south in the regular direction. Then to the right of it, there's that massive sort of empty tract of land where I was hoping to implement this space, and I've got like some degree of an idea of like how I want it to look. But then I realized coming into today's session that I've once again lost track of just how many exhibit animals we have to fit in there. I also want to try and implement the a couple of stores and stuff, kind of make it like a food court kind of a thing. We have something like this at Elite Zoo North. It's underground, and I think it was actually the first, is either the first or the second food court we ever made, which was, it's kind of a funny thing to think back on, but I guess it'll kind of be like that. It's similar but different, because that one, the food court is past all the exhibit animals, whereas here I might go for something a bit more integrated. But the fact of the matter is, because I've kind of lost track of just how many animals we have to actually include in this space, I'm going in a little uncertain with regards to you know, how it's going to look and feel. I know I wanted to sort of pull this aesthetic as a bit of a source of inspiration, right? So I'll probably try and do that, but I also quite like how this is looking. I'm wondering if I want it to be an extension of that instead. I've got a couple different ideas. I'm not exactly sure how they're going to come together, and to me that's kind of interesting in its own way. I might draw some inspiration as well from where are we? This kind of a structure, like where we've got this, you know, we've got this like overhang. We've got some interesting shapes going on. We've got this kind of shelter kind of thing going on over here. Like I might pull from that as well to try and get some of that going on over here. I might try and I'm not sure, you know, I'm really not sure. So I'm a little nervous about today's episode, I'll be completely honest with you, because typically I have at least some idea of what I'm going to do, and then like 8 out of 10 times that idea transforms while I'm building it, but at least there's an idea to start with, and today it's just like, well, you know, I guess we'll see how this plays out. Now, before we get into it, just want to mention as always, folks, if you've been enjoying this series, if you would like to see it continue, please don't hesitate to keep letting me know. Leave a like and a comment down below. It does make a massive difference. Just let me know what y'all are interested in, what I should keep doing, what I should slow down, pick up the pace on. I'm sure y'all know the drill by now. Let's go ahead and actually use this extremely convenient update to the Zoopedia, or rather to Zoopedia, no the there, to find exactly which animals we're going to be putting in over here. I think this is such a great update. I think this is such a great, what's the word I'm looking for? Improvement to Zoopedia. This is fantastic. Really, we only need these guys? I thought we needed a bunch more. Now, the Sacred Scarab Beetle is from one of the DLC, but we'll implement them anyway, because it's not like we have to build a whole enclosure for it, so it's not like we have to worry about frame rates or any of that stuff. So we will establish 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 exhibits. Okay, that is a bit more contained than I initially thought it was. I thought it was like we were coming close to double digits. I think we were at like 8 or 9 or something like that. So that's actually not all that bad. We've got the giant tiger land snail, the Goliath beetle, the Goliath frog, the puff adder, and the sacred scarab beetle. I think we'll read up on them first. On all of them? Yeah, I guess we'll read up on all of them first, and then we'll go ahead and actually build their space, and hopefully we're able to finish it today. Let me just check one thing here real quick though. I wish I could do like habitat and then have like an option for like, you know, already in our zoo versus not. The best way to check is like to see if manage is lit up, because you know you can see which ones, like we don't have the African penguin here, but again that was from the DLC. I wish I could also activate or deactivate DLC. Just trying to figure out just how many animals we have left actually from not the DLC, right? We need the bongo. The bongo doesn't have any interspecies enrichment, but I was wondering if we want to put it into Nyati Plains, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. We got bonobos, we got cheetahs, we got ostriches, warthogs, fennec foxes we do not have, but again they're from the DLC. The Gemsbok we do not have. Again, I was wondering if you want to put them into Nyati Plains, make it even more kind of busy, even more complicated, if you will. We've got the greater flamingo. They don't belong. Well, we've already got them in Elite Zoo North, so I figure we'll skip them for Elite Zoo South. Plus, I mean, just because it's Africa doesn't mean it's... I mean, the flamingo is an example of an animal that is in North and South Africa, but just because an animal is in Africa doesn't mean it's in the southern habitat. The hippos, we got the mandrill. We got to do the mandrill for sure. Meerkats, again, DLC. The Nile Monitor. I don't think the mandrill was DLC. I believe it was in the base game. Meerkat is DLC. Nile Monitor we've got. Nyala we've got. Okapi we need as well. You know what? Maybe we need a... It's interesting. Like, part of me wants to put these three animals, the Okapi, the Gemsbok, and the bongo into Nyati Plains as well, because it feels like it would make the space a bit more alive. But part of me is also wondering if I should make a separate space, which is those three guys or something like that. I don't know. Again, I have my eyes on the comments. If you have any thoughts or opinions of your own, we can definitely try and come up with something interesting for those guys. But they do feel like, yeah, you know what? It's those three, the mandrill, and the exhibit space that we're building right now, and I think that'll be all the base game animals done, but between Elite Zoo North and South. Unless I'm missing something, and I don't think I am. Pretty exciting times ahead. All right, why don't we go ahead and read up on these guys, and then we'll go into our time lapse and make a little space for them. Hopefully, actually complete building that space for them today. If not, then maybe next session will involve wrapping it up, and we'll see where we go next. I mean, again, like I said, I'll keep an eye out in the comments for how you guys feel about those other habitat animal spaces, and we'll play it by ear. All right, the giant tiger land snail is first. Achatina achatina. I'm assuming that's a hard C sound. Maybe it's achatina. That just doesn't sound right. Achatina achatina. Data deficient. Population in wild unknown. The giant tiger land snail, or Achatina achatina, is a large species of gastropod that lives in the woodland areas of West Africa, specifically Sierra Leone, Liberia, Ivory Coast, Ghana, and Nigeria, among others. One thing I've always wondered about, actually, and this comes up often, and I think the reason why it comes up often in my mind is because when I was first exposed to Ivory Coast, I was when I first, I shouldn't say it that way because that sounds like it was the first time I ever heard about the country. But when I was made familiar with the Ivory Coast, let's say, not just knowing that it exists, but actually knowing what it is, as a child. When I was first exposed to it, it was in a francophone country, and so I've always thought of it as a Côte d'Ivoire. And it wasn't like I was going to a French school or anything. Yeah, all the other countries were Sierra Leone, Liberia, Ghana, Nigeria, Senegal, all that stuff was that, but it was never Ivory Coast. It was always Côte d'Ivoire. And so every time I read Ivory Coast, I go, which one's the official name? And you know what? I'm not 100% sure. I always look it up and I always forget. Anyway, sorry, getting distracted here. We can't afford to get distracted today. They have a gray body and a conical shell. Conical is definitely the word. Conical shell that's yellow, orange, or tan with black stripes. The distinctive pattern being the inspiration for their name. Oh, of course, giant tiger. I was like, land snail? Right, the stripes, the tiger, that part of the name. The species is hermaphroditic, possessing both male and female reproductive parts, so there are no distinct males and females. However, small or subadult individuals have often not yet developed the reproductive parts, and so may be considered males. Well, that's an interesting choice to make. What? Wait, hold on. That doesn't make any sense to me. If in adulthood they have both sets of reproductive parts, I mean, again, I would love if one of you in the comments knows the answer and the justification, the explanation from a studied perspective, right? Maybe you're actually in the world, or you're familiar with why it is this way. But if as adults they are classified as hermaphroditic because they have both male and female reproductive parts, then when they have neither, why are they automatically considered males as opposed to something else? I guess hermaphroditic wouldn't apply, right? Because unless I'm mistaken, hermaphroditic is specific to having both, not neither. We have to have both, and then it's hermaphroditic. But surely there's a term for having neither. Maybe I'm wrong. I was about to ask, is the default males? And I think I know the answer to that question. But interesting. Not yeah, sure. Yeah, interesting. I got nothing to add to that. Curious though about the that determination. Moving on though, the natural habitat over here, of course, we just read. Over on to the species data. Group size, excluding juveniles, is 1 to 6. Dominance, none. Mating system is promiscuous self-fertilization. Interesting. Size is 28 centimeters long for, this is actually interesting that they have male and female separated for the averages over here, because of course that doesn't make any sense. Interesting that they didn't change their iconography here. Life expectancy is 7 years. Weight is unknown on average. Age of sexual maturity is at 2 years. Sterility is at death. Number of offspring per mating event is 2 to 7. Gestation of 1 month. Interbirth 36. And reproduction in captivity is easy. Social needs. Giant tiger land snails do not actively live in groups, but are passive enough to tolerate others without aggression. How do snails get aggressive? Reproduction. When interested in mating, a snail will approach another and see if they reciprocate interest by touching them with their antenna. As snails are hermaphroditic, the larger individual takes on the role of the female, with the two intertwining while mating for fertilization to take place. The female will then dig a shallow nest in the forest floor in which to lay her eggs. Hold on! You are bringing up questions and not providing any answers. The larger individual takes on the role of the female. It states that as if it was like, well, but of course. But I mean, typically, not always, but typically in the animal kingdom, we see that males are the larger animal. So over here, why is it that the larger individual is taking on the role of the female as sort of like a matter of fact thing? I mean, I understand that it is a fact, but why? Why isn't it the other way around? Is it because the larger snail, I would assume, has more energy and so is able to deal with the digging of the shallow nest and the laying of the eggs and stuff like that? I guess that makes sense. Is it because it's more capable of protecting those eggs? That could be a reason. I'm curious. Either way, after 10 to 31 days, these eggs hatch, usually just as the rainy season begins, and the young snails must feed to become larger and strengthen their shells before the dry season hits. Giant tiger land snails reach sexual maturity as males at 2 years old, and at this point they are able to fertilize a female. Ah, that's why. Okay. However, it may take up to 3 years for them to be mature enough to act as the female. A fully mature snail will be able to take on the role of either the male or female in copulation. Okay, so this, is I would say, as somebody who was uninformed right up until reading that second, page that we read, or the third page technically, this is inaccurately written. Because small or subadult individuals have often not yet developed, both sets of reproductive parts and are male until late. There's more to it than just this statement. This sentence, this last sentence over here, however, small or subadult individuals have often not yet developed the reproductive parts and so may be considered males, means something completely different from at 2 years old, they're able to fertilize a female because they have all the male sexual parts, whereas at 3 years old, they'll be able to act as male and female. Those are two completely different sentiments, completely different sentences, completely different meanings, and that last sentence is just inaccurate unless there's a third meaning that's not actually written out in either of these pages. That's the actual truth. But okay, now I understand why this line is what it is. Thank you, reproduction section, for explaining what I've been misled on previously. Research status, of course, there's not too much already done. We'll have to do some research to actually make them happy in their exhibit. See, the problem with adding too many animals at the same time is like trying to stay caught up with research. I mean, maybe I could get some more vets to help pick up the pace on research. That might not be a bad idea. But of course, there's nothing on these last two tabs. Let's take a look at the Goliath beetle. Heads up, if you don't like the look of beetles, the Goliath beetle is a particularly beetly beetle, I would say. Just giving a warning for those of you that don't like the look of beetles. It makes my skin crawl as well. I don't hate beetles all that much, but yeah, but they do make me uncomfortable. I can deal with them, but you know, they're called creepy crawlies for a reason, right? They're creepy. Goliath beetle, Goliathus. Who named these guys? Like, come on. which scientist was responsible for some of this lazy naming between these two guys? Like, come on, get creative. Data deficient, of course. Population in the wild is unknown. The Goliath beetle, or Goliathus, is a large species of insect that lives in the savanna and rainforests of Central Africa. The males and females are different in appearance and size, the males being larger, between 60 and 100 millimeters, with a dark brown abdomen, a brown thorax with white stripes, black legs, as well as a white head with a Y-shaped horn. The females have shorter, thinner stripes on the thorax, are smaller in size, between 50 and 80 millimeters, and do not have a horn. Little is known about the life cycle of this species in the wild, but it is threatened by habitat loss due to destruction of the rainforest in which it lives. Interesting. Damn. Yeah, it's funny how little we know about some of these like little guys, right? For obvious reason, I guess they're less observable, less easily observed. Interesting. Natural habitat, fair enough, pretty widespread actually. Species data, group size is 1 to 8, dominance is none, mating system is polygynous. Size between males and females, 8 centimeters for males, on average 7 centimeters for females. Life expectancy is 2 years across the board. Weight is unknown across the board. Age of sexual maturity is at 1 year. Sterility is at death. Number of offspring per mating event is 3 to 6. Gestation of 0 months. Interbirth of 120. And reproduction in captivity is difficult. Oh, damn. Okay, interesting. Interesting. Not often we see that. Social needs. Goliath beetles are solitary animals. Other than to mate or compete over mates, they do not interact in the wild. Reproduction. Male Goliath beetles establish a territory, fighting off rival males using the Y-shaped horn on their head and detecting any females that move through this territory via pheromone signals. Once they have mated, the female will dig a shallow hole in sandy soil and lay her eggs inside, where they will hatch into larvae between 12 to 14 days later. The larvae will forage on decaying plant and animal matter on the forest floor until they reach approximately 100 grams in weight. At this point, they will bury themselves in the ground and pupate, remaining there for 5 months, hatching after the rainy season has been made the ground moist. It takes approximately 1 year for an egg to become an adult, and these fully grown beetles emerge to begin to search for mates. Interesting. You know, it's weird. It's been a while since I've thought about the rainy season and just how many, like, you know, bugs, I guess, to use a very generic term here, come about around that time. I don't know why it's been so long since I've thought about it, but it has been a long time since I've thought over that, and these two readings have certainly made me think about it a bit more. Again, I say bugs as a generic term. Obviously, snails aren't bugs, but hopefully you get what I mean. The Goliath frog is next. Very wonky looking, actually. If we take a look at the bullfrog, which I gotta actually cancel this, any continent. If we take a look at the bullfrog compared to the Goliath frog, can I not, why can't I, why do this to me? Or is it the American bullfrog? Or yeah, so take a look at like the level of detail on this guy versus this guy. Like, he just looks a lot crisper, doesn't he? Smoother, rounder, crisper. Just thought that was kind of interesting. All right, back to Africa. Thank you very much. Over to the Goliath frog. Conrawa Goliath. I don't know how to say that. Endangered. Population in wild is unknown. The Goliath frog, or Conrawa Goliath, is an extremely large species that lives in the African rainforests of Cameroon and Equatorial Guinea, specifically in the fast-flowing rivers and streams. It can be green to dark brown in color, with a paler underbelly, large yellow eyes, and may also have small ridged bumps on its skin. Males are larger than females, weighing between 0.6 and 3 kilograms and measuring between 17 and 30 centimeters long. The species is endangered due to being overhunted for food as trophies and by the pet trade, lacking Oxford comma there. Gotta point that one out. And interesting, food, like a delicacy or just like staple diet? I'm curious. Huh. Natural habitat. Not too widespread at all. Group size is 1 to 2. No dominant system. A mating system is polygynous. On average, males are 25 centimeters long. Females are 23. Life expectancy is 18 years on average across the board. And a weight of 2.3 kilograms on average across the board as well. Sexual maturity, is between 10 and 12 months old. Sterility is at death. Number of offspring per mating event is 1 to 2. Gestation, incubation period of 3 months. Interbirth of 9. And reproduction in captivity. Once more, difficult. All right, here we go again. Interesting. Social needs. Goliath frogs are solitary and do not interact except to mate or compete over mates. I wonder if they're all more similar to that than kind of like willing to get along. Reproduction. When females are ready to lay eggs, males will begin to build nests on riverbeds near fast-flowing water, pushing stones into semicircular formations in the sand. They will also wrestle with any rival males that happen to be building nests nearby. It is then up to females to decide on high-quality nests in which to lay her eggs, the male fertilizing them as she does so. Interesting. Both the mother and father will abandon their eggs after laying, leaving them to hatch into tadpoles that will then grow into froglets approximately 3 months later. The young Goliath frogs will reach sexual maturity at 10 to 12 months old. Of course, there's nothing over here. 17 and 30 centimeters long. Oh, wow. Yo, they're not lying about Goliath. That's pretty big. 17 to 30 centimeters long is pretty big. That's the males. We don't have a female size over here, but that's large. That's large. That's you could it puts Goliath in the name, I suppose. I'm wondering if I want to read all these guys right now, or if we save the puff adder and the sacred scarab beetle for some other time. Right, we did a fair bit of reading, taking a look at the time as well. I feel like we could be reading for a long time if I keep at it. I do want to get to our time lapse, so why don't we go ahead and dive into that, and then maybe we'll read the rest after the time lapse, or yeah, we'll save them for next time or something like that. Maybe, yeah, we'll see. But folks, I think that's enough reading for now. I do want to get some construction work going as well. I want to try and get this time lapse done, or as close to done as possible. Again, kind of like going in without any concrete ideas, so I'm a little like I said, nervous, a little concerned, but hopefully it ends up looking great. Hopefully we end up loving it. Let's go ahead and find a nice camera angle that we can start and end at, just so we can kind of see that space when it's done. Yeah, I think that's nice. God, I love how the sun... Anyway, folks, it's time lapse time. All right, folks, I am really pleased, as I tend to be, with this time lapse. It's actually I was very worried going into it. As I mentioned, I was concerned that at least I think I mentioned, I'll mention it again in case I didn't, because honestly, as you'll notice after this time lapse as well, just everything is such a blur these days sometimes. I legitimately cannot remember if I mentioned this before or not, but I was nervous going into this time lapse because I had very little of a plan. I basically had no plan. I was just like, this is the space where we're going to have a bunch of those bugs and stuff, and it's going to be a building, and that's pretty much it. So I was a little concerned because I wasn't really sure how this was going to play out. I wasn't sure how it was going to look. I had maybe a couple of ideas of an art style that I might want to implement, and I ended up using neither of those ideas or any of those ideas. I think I had two, so neither, I guess, makes sense. But you know, it just kind of winged it, wung it, played it by ear, and it worked out quite nicely. I'm actually really pleased with how this space looks. It's got a very interesting, I think, structure to it. It's got an interesting flow to it. I don't know if, again, the game's guest AI will take advantage of it exactly how I would like it to, but you know, we'll work around it. We'll deal with it. I think it'll look good enough in terms of how busy it'll get, considering how busy the space gets. Anyway, going to actually be implementing some stores over here on the second floor, maybe a washroom as well, and that should drag some customers over, some guests over, and then hopefully we'll see a decent sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Traffic, decent bit of traffic in the area. But yeah, so building this second floor pool, if you will, what I'm actually going to do is add some of the water ripple effect VFX elements to the top over here, so that it kind of actually feels like there's water there, have that water flow out, and then have the waterfall, you know, have waterfall effects at its base. But at first I was going to make a little like lake, pond, whatever kind of a thing over here right into the ground, and then ultimately you'll see I actually changed my mind and I decided to build an elevated, yeah, here we go. I'm gonna build sort of an elevated water reservoir, if you will. And the reason why I wanted to do that is because I wanted to have a rather interesting look at some of the aquatic vegetation well, you'll see, I suppose. Again, this was all just kind of like winging it, right? I had like none of these things were planned. I was just like, oh, you know, wow, how about this? How about that? How about this? Might be interesting. And it's been an interesting journey, because I think in that sort of like go mentality and approach, a lot of things were done that I didn't think that I would otherwise not think to do, or that I otherwise sometimes think to do but never actually go around implementing. So it was interesting. But yeah, you can see I'm putting down a bunch of these like aquatic pieces, I suppose, putting a couple rocks here and there down as well. But the thing is that when I look at it from the outside, it doesn't really do the trick, because all this stuff is so low that a guest walking by barely sees it, and I was hoping for something a bit higher. Now, I know there are mods out there that allow you to like get fish and stuff, so I don't know if I'll look into that. We could also use the display boards, like the animated display boards, to like pretend that there's fish down here. We could do the same for the little pool type thing we've built on the second floor as well, on that rooftop. So there's a couple of things I'm thinking about. I don't know if I'll go with any of that though, because it feels a little clunky, especially the mods. I mean, I don't know if I want to, you know, at this stage in the game, introduce mods to our playthrough out of nowhere, right? Because then that's a can of worms. But there's some potential ideas out there that we can maybe think about. But for now, I want it to be kind of a nice aquarium-looking thing, I suppose, with the vegetation and stuff being the primary focus. I was trying to figure out why I can't get this thing up properly over here. But a couple of adjustments here and there. And then you saw I raised the entire terrain up by a little bit because I felt like it was all just way too low and guests walking by wouldn't actually be able to see anything. Quick adjustment, and now I feel a lot better about the actual height of it all. Time to add a bit more density. And you can see how very quickly I've been like distracted completely from the original goal to something that was like never even supposed to exist. And that's how it goes sometimes with these time lapses. You kind of like get in the zone and you just keep vibing, and you make something you well, hopefully you like, and hopefully other people like as well. And I'm pretty pleased with this, actually. Next up was kind of extending the all the wall pieces over here and trying to figure out exactly how this building ends, I guess, like where this sort of finishing point is. And I realized that this large space over here to the left, or to the bottom now, or to the right now, that large space is, well, too big to just leave empty. And I had some plans initially that I wouldn't say forgot about, but I set aside, I guess, for this layout over here. And I was like, yeah, this is quite nice. I like this like almost maze-like look. I'd have to make a couple of more connections to make it a bit more interesting, but overall I thought it was a nice intricate little set of connections. I thought the pathing looked quite nice. And I thought the building would look quite nice, actually, with that kind of rounded exterior wall. So I was very pleased with this. I do change my mind, as you'll see in just a moment's time. Shortly after, I think I add some of these trees and do a little bit of work with some walls. But I'm very pleased with these, like the trees as well. I really like the colors. I really like how we've got all that very vibrant orange. The Australia DLC's path, that orange clay path thing, looks very good. I think it's very striking, and I use that as sort of a core color inspiration. But you can see again over here how I'm making some adjustments, because of course we've now, rather than made this the end of the building, we've decided that this is going to expand a little bit and extend a little bit to actually include all of these exhibits. But in short order, I realized, well, hang on a second, sure, now we've got stuff out over here, but the actual inside of the building is now empty, and you'll see it every once in a while. I kind of rotate the camera over, and you can see just how empty it is underneath that second floor, and I noticed that as well, and I go, well, this isn't acceptable. This isn't going to work. So you'll see we'll actually shortly work on fixing that as well. Again, very fluid process, very open to the evolving situation and how that affects design and how that affects layouts and stuff like that. So I'm pleased, because it's a good showcase, in my opinion, of some of that. And here again, I was like, okay, well, I guess it'd be kind of neat to have this. Okay, so I'm trying to remember exactly where my head was at through this phase, because I was like, it'd be kind of neat to have this rooftop garden Because initially I was like, it'd be neat to be able to look down at the exhibits, but then I realized the exhibits actually have their tops covered up, so you wouldn't be able to look at them. So I was like, all right, fine. Well, there's nothing to look down at. So why don't we add some greenery? We've got a little pool thing, so there's a nice little like splash pad, or maybe just water, a nice water feature. Why don't we also add a rooftop garden, because that's interesting to look at. I wanted to make sure we had stores up over here to actually bring guests up. So just got to find a nice spot for these stores, bring guests up, have them shop, and we want to get some seating down over here as well. So it felt like a nice kind of overall vibe, to come upstairs with the rooftop garden and drink in hand, or ice cream in hand, or donut in hand, or what have you, and just have a good time and no longer look down at the exhibits. Now you're at this rooftop garden, just enjoying the sun maybe, and looking over at maybe Nyati Plains, right? Something like that. Because I realized again, well, the exhibits cover their tops, right? So that wasn't going to be an option. But keep that in mind. That's another factor that comes into a decision I'm about to make in just a moment's time. So the inside of the building is kind of empty. Hold on. I don't think it's just quite yet. Now, yeah. So the inside of the building is kind of empty. The rooftop view is kind of uninteresting because there's a bunch of black boxes underneath. So you don't necessarily have to pay attention to what I'm looking at right now. But I was looking at what other animals are left to add to Elite Zoo South. And I decided that we're going to move these exhibits in underneath the second floor, and we're actually going to build an enclosure where I was putting these exhibits down. And that was the initial thought I had that was actually setting aside. I was like, oh, it'd be nice to have like an enclosure here, but I was like, there's no animal that can exist in this little amount of space. Turns out there is. Turns out there's an animal that can exist rather well in this amount of space. I can have 5 of them, which I think is how much they need to get by. So really excited for that. It'll be next session is my plan, and I think it'll be a nice integration, a nice way to blend these two spaces together. And again, wasn't the plan, but now it is, and that's the joy of letting things kind of like go with the flow. But as I adjust the barriers over here, we're going to prepare to end the time lapse. We'll be going back to regular speed, adding some of those exhibit animals, beetles and snakes and all that, snakes and snails and beetles, and then we'll be back to our time lapse next time. All right, folks, we are back from the time lapse, and that one was kind of wild. I'm, really pleased with how it ended up. Wasn't expecting such solid results. I mean, it's obviously not finished. I guess it's not hard to tell that it's incomplete. But the conversation sort of grew as I was building the space out, and I came to realize that I might be able to use it for more than just the little exhibits and stuff like that. So I'm really excited for how the space. This camera is misbehaving a little bit. I'm really excited for how the space is going to sort of develop and grow beyond what we've established today. I'm really excited to actually work on this space next. When I first, I'm sure I talked about this a little bit, at least during the time lapse. When I first put this path down, I really wanted to use this negative space for something more interesting than just the exhibits, right? I wanted to make this feel like a well thought out space. And about like halfway through the enclosure, or halfway through the time lapse, I was like, it's all right, I guess. But that's kind of what I like about going in with things a little less thoroughly planned. Like a lot of the time, I'll plan things, like for example with Pride Rock. Obviously, I had a very kind of solid idea of what I wanted, right? Like I knew exactly how it needed to look. I knew exactly what I was trying to be inspired by, etc., etc. But with things like this, I mean, this is the opposite end of that spectrum, where I'm just like completely zero clue as to how I want to pull this space off. Just a bare minimal idea of how I want things to, what I want this space to be. And while building, I was like, why don't we give it a second floor? Why don't we get a little above ground food court as opposed to a ground floor or underground food court? Why don't we get eventually another space for a whole other enclosure over here? So really excited and very pleased with how this actually played out. I mean, again, it's always fun to try different methodologies and to try different approaches. It opens up, I feel like, a lot of opportunity for creativity, which is kind of one of my biggest driving forces or calls to this game, right? So this was a lot of fun. But there is a couple of animals to add. We could do a bit more reading as well, and maybe get all 5 animals in, and then we can save this space for the next session, and then we'll add some walls and some more decorative elements and stuff as well. I do have a couple of names to pop in. So I actually received a name suggestion the other day that I'll be dropping in first over here for our Bernie's Bakes over here. The request was to put in a row bakes. There you go. But apart from that, we do have a Pip Shot water and a Cosmic Cow ice cream that both need some name suggestions. We might get some washrooms and stuff up over here as well. We actually, we have a nice spot over here for something. Maybe we'll see. But if you have any name suggestions for not just the Cosmic Cow ice cream and the Pip Shot water, but the entire space itself as well. You know how like in at Elite Zoo North we have oh god, what do we have? Oh geez. Oh my god, the names are escaping my mind right now. I'm like drawing complete blanks, just because of sheer like just the madness of these last couple of weeks. Things are wild. Okay, look, you remember how all the way over here, I can't even remember the names of some of the stuff at Elite Zoo South. Not because it's been so long. It's been that kind of a month, year. Right. Tortoise Tavern, right, as an example, right? What was it called? Was it Tapir Tavern? Was that all it was? No, it was something I can't remember now. Wow. Sorry. Anyway, so we have names for areas sometimes, so we could give this little building a little name as well, and we'll implement that. We'll get the space developed. I'm really excited for the space. It's evolved into so much more than I initially thought it was going to be. Oh, one thing I do need to do over here though is actually connect these paths, which I should be able to do, no problem. Do I want to do it like that though, or do I want to do it like this? All right, let's do this. Right down the middle here. Bit of a maze. I don't know why exactly I wanted this all to be raised up, but I just kind of did, and so I did it. I guess I kind of liked how it looked with the raised like ridge or whatever versus a flat, just a flat path. Just feels a little bit more interesting. Feels like there's more. Feels like there's more going on, I guess. And you'll notice as well that I went with none of the art styles that I said I would. I didn't go with this art style. I did not go with that aesthetic. I went with an entirely different aesthetic. Just it's what happens when you kind of go in, with very little planned out, pre-planned, or however you want to put it. All right, let's go ahead to our Zoopedia over here, and you can ignore the fact that I have the mandrill selected. That's not indicative of anything at all. Don't worry about that. Let's go ahead over to our exhibit animals, over to our Africa continent. We've got these guys red. We've got the Goliath frog red as well. Right? Yes. Yeah. And right? Yeah. Because I remember remarking on the size. Like I said, it's been that kind of a couple weeks, month, whatever you want to say, year. I'm literally forgetting stuff I did like a handful of minutes ago. The puff adder is next. Okay, I was talking about the names being jokingly, obviously talk about the names being unoriginal or lazy, the Latin names being unoriginal or lazy, scientific names, whatever. But the puff adder just being called Bitis arietans is amazing. Arietans, I don't know, but Bitis, you for real? Come on, that's amazing. I did not know the genus was called Bitis. I'm gonna be straight up with you. That's hilarious to me. All right, data deficient as far as their vulnerability is concerned. Population in wild is unknown. The puff adder or Bitis arietans, I don't know, is a species of venomous snake that is widespread throughout sub-Saharan Africa and the southern Middle East. It is distinguishable by its squat body, broad head, and dull scales. Missing Oxford comma. These are beige, brown, and black, and formed in a reticulated pattern to provide it with excellent camouflage on the savannas and grasslands where it prefers to live. It is a slow-moving snake, but can reach great speeds when disturbed. The average length is 1 meter, although some specimens can reach almost 2 meters, and males tend to be larger than females with a wider girth and longer tail. Cool. All right. I do like the occasional snake. Snakes are interesting animals. I once had a what was it? Was it a boa? I forget. I was in Marrakesh, and someone just put a snake on me. We were just walking through one of the open air marketplaces in Marrakesh. I get some orange juice, if memory serves me right. Freshly squeezed orange juice. And Buddy walks up to me and he's just like, hey, yeah, you look good with a snake on you. And he just starts to put a snake around my neck. Good stuff. Some snakes can be nice. All right, sub-Saharan Africa. I mean, they weren't kidding, except for this giant, more kind of jungly, forested area. You know, makes sense. Over to, I mean, if I have my geography correct, which I'm fairly certain I do. Do you think they like kind of like jumped past the water there to get from over to species data over here? Group size 1 to 5, dominance none. Mating system is promiscuous. Size on average is 1.1 meters long for males, 1 meters for female. Life expectancy is 14 years across the board, and weight is unknown across the board. Sexual maturity is at 2 years. Sterility is at death. Number of offspring per mating event is 1 to 3. Gestation and incubation takes about 6 months. Interbirth is about 6 months, and reproduction in captivity is easy. Nice to see. Social needs. Puff adders are solitary animals. It is rare that they will ever encounter each other in the wild, except when males search for females to mate with, and even so, do not interact. It is, yeah, it's interesting that like all these like smaller animals, not all, I'm obviously, you know, very broad strokes there, but very large number of these very small animals really don't spend time near each other at all. Not very social at all. Reproduction. Males search for females by tracking pheromone signals, and many will often meet each other when seeking the same female. If this happens, they compete for mating rights by performing combative dances and wrestling with their rivals by entwining their necks together. A victor will eventually emerge, mating with the female who, after 5 to 6 months, will give birth to between 30 and 80 live young. Okay, that that makes my skin, like, crawl. These hatchlings are independent from birth and will reach sexual maturity at 2 years old. Okay, now my skin's legitimately crawling after reading that line about 30 and 80 live young. Oh, it's interesting, though. I've seen, not seen, like, in real life, but I've seen a snake, like snakes wrestling for dominance, but I don't really know what determines the victor. Like, are you trying to choke each other out? Like, I'm not sure. I'm curious. I'm gonna look this up afterwards because I've seen it and I've always assumed, okay, they're fighting for dominance, but I've never thought to ask, like, but what is the pain being inflicted? You know, because a lot of the time, I mean, like, typically it's a matter of it's a show of strength, right? So I would assume it's like trying to strangle each other. They're not trying to kill each other. Maybe. I don't know. I gotta look it up. Research status, of course, we've got nothing for now, but I think we're good to check out the sacred scarab beetle. Again, this is a DLC animal, if memory serves me right, but you know, we'll add it anyway, because why not? It's an easy enough addition. It doesn't take too many polygons to add in, right? So the sacred scarab beetle, I'm also partial a little bit to scarabs, I'll be honest, ever since that Mummy movie with Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz. Well, not the first one. Oh yeah, the first one as well. I'm a bit partial to scarabs. So the sacred scarab beetle, Scarabaeus sacer, data deficient as far as their endangered level is concerned. Population in wild is unknown. The sacred scarab beetle is a dung beetle native to the coastal dunes and marshes around the Mediterranean Sea, meaning it is found in North Africa, Europe, and the Middle East, meaning it's maybe a little outside of our Southern Hemisphere kind of distinction, but look, we've blurred the lines in the past for others. We'll blur the lines for these sacred scarab beetles as well. The head of the scarab beetle has 6 oblong projections, and its front legs have an additional 4 each, giving the appearance of an arc of rays on the beetle's front end. The sacred scarab beetle is 0.4 inches to 82.5. Okay, that is obviously a typo. That is a horrendous. No, not horrendous, but horrifying typo, like instills fear in the heart. The sacred scarab beetle is 0.4 inches to 82.5 feet in size and has a shiny black carapace. 82.5 feet is a little bit larger than I think they intended to type there. I assume it's 8... No, even 8 inches is too large. Where's the typo? I'm not sure what the typo there is. It's obviously supposed to be inches. 82.5 feet. A beetle that is 82.5 feet large is insanely terrifying. Especially the dung beetle. Can you imagine the size of the crap it collects? Hold on. What could it be? What could be reasonable over here? 0.825 inches, maybe? That's way off, though. That's a big typo. That's funny. That's a big typo. That was unintentional. That's funny. Natural habitat, yeah, so we're, again, we're blurring the lines a little bit. The southern hemisphere begins like right around over here, actually, give or take a couple of millimeters. So we're again blurring the lines a little bit, but it's okay. It's okay. Hey, Morocco represent. Species data, group size is 1 to 25. Dominance, none, though males may fight over females and dung balls. That's funny. Because normally when you talk about dominance, you talk purely for mating purposes, but that's pretty good. Mating system is polygamous. Size, on average, for males and females is 0.8 inches. So I would assume that this is, yes, 0.8 is the intent there. Life expectancy is 5 years across the board. Weight is unknown across the board. Sexual maturity is at 6 months. Sterility is at death. Number of offspring per mating event is 1 to 3. Gestation is 1 month. Interbirth is 11. And reproduction in captivity is average. All right, we got a good mix of everything pretty much over here. Social needs. Reproduction is massive over here. Excited to read that. Social needs first. Sacred scarab beetles are solitary in the wild, but males and females will come together to create the dung ball for nesting and to compete for mates and dung balls. Reproduction. Males and females create burrows for the storage of dung for feeding and egg laying. They dig these holes with their head and legs. When the female is ready to breed, she begins the process of making a dung ball for nesting. She will choose dung with a finer texture for this ball as opposed to the balls that she will usually build for feeding on. Males will also create dung balls with the intention of attracting a female. Which kind of dung ball? A feeding dung ball or a nesting dung ball? Do tell, game. Come on. Dung balls will often change hands, as males will fight and steal dung balls, and the female will follow the dung ball. Dung ball is starting to lose all meaning. Like, the word is starting to sound very strange right now. The male that manages to retain the dung ball and put it safely in their burrow will be the one who wins mating rights. It's a game of capture the flag, basically. How there's not a video game that's basically this blows my mind. That just like some indie developers kind of came together and Once in the burrow, the female will modify the shape of the ball by adding more dung on top and creating a pear shape. She will create a small tunnel through the tip of the dung ball and lay her eggs in the center of the dung. She will then abandon the burrow. After several days, larvae hatch from the eggs and feed on the dung ball. After 1 to 4 weeks, they will pupate. Sometime after 4 weeks, a young adult beetle will emerge. Time may change dependent on temperature, humidity, etc. Beetles do not reproduce straight away, but will spend time feeding and allowing their gonads to develop. This may take several months based on environmental conditions and food availability. Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, I mean, I've always known, obviously, that the dung balls were an important aspect of their competitiveness, I suppose, let's call it. I didn't realize it was like this intricate of a procedure and process and stuff. Yeah, I love reading Zoopedia. That's very fascinating stuff. Very fascinating stuff. All right, so why don't we go ahead and start getting some of these guys in here. So the giant tiger land snail first, over to the market. How do I have any particular way I want to organize these guys? We've got 3 and 2. Why don't we, hold on, let me take a look over here. Zoopedia, please. Let's see. I hate that I have to keep doing this. Exhibit and Africa. So the beetle, we have the frog, the snake, the beetle. So we have 2 beetles. Okay, let's put the 2 beetles at the back, and then we'll put the rest at the front. How about that? So, the giant tiger land snail. Why don't we go ahead and pick up Deka and Akins. Not the best fertility or anything. Go ahead and send them both into this one. Yeah, good stuff. We need, what else do we need? We need for ourselves... Exhibit, whoops. Africa. The Goliath beetle. Over to the market. Hopefully some good ones available. Walid. Pick you up. And Thema. Or, well, sure, the higher fertility maybe will come in handy. Adopt you as well. Let's go. Oh, that image. It's funny how, I mean, I'm sure some of you don't react this way. And I'm pretty good with creepy crawlies. I used to be a lot worse when I was a kid, right? When I was really young, I think there's one particular movie that I think I watched that I should not have watched as a kid. And I think that made me very uncomfortable. In fact, 2 separate movies for 2 different kinds of creepy crawlies. But obviously as I grew up, I kind of grew past that. But every once in a while, there'll be a visual that'll just, make my like hair stand on edge. It's a very strange feeling. Goliath Frog, go ahead and pick a couple of you up. So we've got one beetle. All right, just making sure we organize people properly. Amina, let's grab you. And who is our best male candidate? Eozy, I suppose. Go ahead and scoop these two up. Send you over to here. It's actually wild to me. I didn't think, for some reason, I didn't think we'd actually get to all of them quite so quickly. It is wild to me how we're coming close on Elite Zoo South's completion. Oh, do we really not have any puff adders? You're joking. Come on now. Come on now. Not a single one? Come on. That's so silly. It's like this. So silly. Alright, fair enough. I guess we're not going to have everything done today. Oh, well, all these guys, I mean, done today. So what was our last one? The scarab beetle, right? Go for the scarab. Yep, please. Thank you. To the market. I love that shortcut. Oh, grab you. Unfortunately, no females right now. But we'll get one when we can. Alright, neat. That one kind of stands out a little bit. So we need our puff adder. We need another beetle. But overall, I think we're doing quite well. Where is anybody? We'll have to obviously adjust their climates and stuff like... Oh, oops, that was a mistake. We'll have to adjust their climates and stuff. We have to get power back over here as well. We have... what do we have to do over here? We got to get power. We got to adjust temperatures and climates and stuff. We got to build the rest of the space out. All right, cool. Just kind of like running through everything in my mind. Why don't I go ahead and get a solar panel? I think that'll do the trick over here. Over to utilities, get rid of that. Solar panel. Pop you down. Yeah, roughly over here works. Right outside our little thing over here. Yeah, that should be fine. Pop you right down over here. Like so. Works for me. It's got to be outdoors, right? I was wondering if I wanted to put it up top over here, but I just feel like I kind of like how the second floor looks. I don't want to like add the solar panels or anything to that. Let's actually, before I forget, go ahead to our zoo, over to our staff. There's a couple things I want to do. One thing I want to do is I want to close all of these up so that I just realized I don't have to close them up. I can just click that button up there. But it's okay. Go ahead and get the upgrade happening because I know a lot of people need to be trained. But I wanted to go to work zones and I wanted to edit Africa Center. And I wanted to add everything over here. Cool. Just like that. Good stuff. Hopefully that gets taken care of properly. We might need some more vendors and stuff as well, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Let's go ahead and very quickly now check. Not Zoopedia, not there, not there, not there. What am I looking for? Hey, Papa Havoc. Thought I'd say hello. Great channel. H for Havoc. Don't hesitate to check him out. He does some really fun games. He's doing Jurassic World Evolution these days as well. If you want to see more JWE2 action, alongside other things, of course. Very similar games to what I cover on the channel over here. What am I looking for? I'm looking for the market. Exhibit trading. I want my... No luck here. But what about the puff adder? Come on. Come on. What are the chances that it's completely empty? Fair enough. All right, well, we got power over here. We need to adjust our climates and stuff, right? So you want what? It's been so long since we've done one of these. 40 to 60. Pull it down to 55. Over here. 74 to 86. Let's go to 83, sure. Temperature's looking good. Temperature's looking good. Yeah. Back over here. These guys need... Hold on. Hang on a second. Yeah, okay, we're good. These guys need this to be, what, 40 to 60? Let's go with 55. Yeah, and these guys over here need 40 to 60. Not surprised. Go with 55. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. Very cool. Oh, is that... They're so funny looking. They're so funny looking. Just like slapped onto the glass there, you know? Oh, that's funny. That's priceless. It literally, I can like hear the sound of it being like flung and like sticking to the glass, you know? like a little flunk sound. Oh, that's adorable. Look at the size of that thing. That's big. What about over here? Do we have... I like trying to spot them with my own eyes. The Goliath beetle and the scarab might be a little harder to spot. Oh, that's pretty. Oh, that's quite beautiful, actually. See what I mean? Like the image, the thumbnail or whatever you want to call it, was making my skin crawl. But then I look at it for real, and it's like, no, that's actually rather beautiful. Look at the red on the back there. That is really quite nice. That is really quite nice. This might be our thumbnail, though. I don't know if I want to make anybody feel uncomfortable. I have to think about that. You know, that does look really beautiful, doesn't it? Am I the only one who feels that way? Maybe I've got a bunch of you like averting your eyes right now. Let's go ahead and avert our own. Move on over to here. Do we have our... What am I looking for here? I'm looking for not the puff adder. This is the frog, right? Oh, there you are. Oh my god. You are big, buddy. Oh, Lord. Yeah, quite large. Quite large, actually. That is no joke. 30 centimeters is big, typically on average, right? Because it's different per person. But if you extend your hand all the way out, like the like the rock on symbol, I guess, or like the surfer symbol, right? Your pinky to your thumb is gonna be about 20 centimeters, give or take. It's rough, obviously, because every human body is a little different. So that's about 20 centimeters. If you want a very quick idea of what 30 centimeters is, you don't have a ruler or whatever right next to you, or measuring tape. That'll give you a rough idea of what you're looking at there. That's massive, though. Do we have another one, right? I thought we had a second one. Can't remember now for the life of me. Okay, maybe this guy will make our thumbnail instead. Less creepy, less skin crawly, I think, for more people. If I can get a nice shot. Oh, come on. It's a good look. The camera gets so finicky when you get zoomed in. It gets so very finicky. Oh god. Kind of low res as well, actually. It's kind of funny. Base game texture as opposed to the DLC stuff, right? What about our scarab beetles? There we go. These guys a little less pretty. Not as pretty, but still quite impressive. The level of detail on even such small models is to be commended. But folks, really excited for what comes next to this space. I mean, hopefully, maybe I've faked the game out for long enough that I can come down over here and still no puff adders. Man, are you for real? It's kind of wild. All right, well, you know, we'll check for the scarab female. Still no luck there. We'll see what happens next time. But folks, if I'm not mistaken, it looks like we only have 3 more African animals to add to our to Elite Zoo South and the Elite Zoo Company and our franchise mode playthrough. We've got the okapi, right? The where to go is the okapi, the mandrill, of course, the gemsbok, the bongo. Right, everything else I do believe we've got. Everything else that's again base game, right? Wow, weird to think about. It's been such a long journey, over 2 years now. The Elite Zoo Company, start to near finish now. It's kind of wild to think about that we might be getting there. Well, folks, on the topic of things finishing, it's about time this episode came to its finish. I hope you all enjoyed this one, because I certainly did. Again, went on a bit of an adventure as far as this enclosure or space, I suppose we could call it, is concerned. Gonna add some VFX to add some water rippling effects up over here. I think that'll look quite nice. We'll get some waterfall effects over here as well. I think that'll be quite nice too. And we'll see how we build this space out as we add our next animal over here. I think next session, we'll go ahead and finalize this space. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be really good, folks. I hope you enjoyed this session. If you did, again, you know what to do. Let me know down below by leaving a like and a comment. As always, it makes a massive difference. Just let me know what y'all are interested in watching on the channel, and just gives me a good feel for what I should or shouldn't be focusing on doing. Again, like I said, y'all know the drill by now, I'm sure. As always, of course, a massive thanks goes out to all of the channel members and patrons who've been supporting the channel on a monthly basis. That'll keep us alive and running smoothly. And of course, a big ol' thanks goes out to each and every one of you for watching. Until next time, cheers.